everybody, and thanks for joining me today. So, got a little bit more ocean, and then we'll be working again on the tail feathers of this peacock, my favorite part of the pattern. Yeah, it's coming along nicely, I think. So yeah, we got a bunch of snow. Well, I say a bunch. We got about 6 inches, which for us is pretty normal for this time of year. And I won't complain because the east coast of Canada is having a major blizzard. Yeah, in Cape Breton, Nova Scotia, they actually declared a state of emergency over it. They got 150 centimeters. That's just under 5 feet for you who don't use metric. Yeah, it's yeah, I was telling my son, for perspective, that's like up to my eyeballs. So yeah, that's just wild. Like I was mentioning that blizzard of 1996 when I lived on Vancouver Island. Yeah, it's giving vibes like that, only even more. Yeah, it's just wild. Like they said, snowplows are getting stuck and stuff. It's that bad. So yeah, people are basically having to hunker down until they can dig their way out. So yeah, like I said, I won't complain about our 6 inches. That wasn't bad. Yeah, my husband had to go out of town, but he cleared it before he left. So yeah, because it snowed basically all day and most of the night, and so yeah, he stayed behind and did that before he headed out for the day. So yeah, I was definitely grateful for that. Yeah, and it's not too terribly cold. Well, that's usually what happens when it's super cold. It doesn't snow. Then when it warms up, the air gets a bit more humid, and then yeah, we get snow. So it's kind of a trade-off. Although it's still pretty dry out here, mostly on the prairies. Yeah, we had to get used to that. Actually, some of our furniture actually warped because we came from BC, where it's a lot more humid. And yeah, like our kitchen table is one of those, it has the centerpiece that you can take out and make it a round table. And yeah, it actually like shrank, and there's a little gap between the pieces now because of the, yeah, it's so much drier that everything dried out. Ah, well, it still works. I just cover it with a tablecloth. It's all good. One day we'll replace it, but well, when that happened, we figured like we're gonna have kids, so you know, your furniture is gonna get pretty wrecked anyway, right? Yeah, I was kind of annoyed because when we bought our living room furniture, they had we had these discontinued ones, so we bought them because they were cheaper, like, you know, last year's model or whatever, 'cause we don't care about having the latest model, right, as long as it works. And they had brown ones. They were like coffee brown, and then they had white ones, and for some reason my husband insisted on the white ones because like it would match the living room or whatever, and I'm like, but we're planning on having kids. White couches is the worst, right? It's that white freaking suede stuff. It's very unforgiving, right? And yeah. And then when we got them delivered, he kind of looked at it and went, oh, it's white couches in like a cream living room. The whole place just kind of looks washed out. I'm like, yeah, if we got the brown ones like I wanted. I put some knitted blankets and stuff on them, but yeah, they ended up looking awful. And a few years ago, I went and I bought some furniture covers for them, which they aren't perfect. They don't fit perfectly, right? But at least it's better than the ugly stained, yeah, gray. So one day we'll get new couches, and I said I want to get something that we can wipe down a little better. Like, it doesn't have to be leather or anything, but yeah. Oops. That came unthreaded partially. Yeah, although we have one couch that is downstairs in our rec room that's like black microfiber. That's a really good couch. Yeah, it hasn't sagged or anything. We got that, sheesh, I was in college, and it was my first apartment. Yeah, and we got it because it didn't have any matching like love seat or anything. It was just a couch, right? A 3-seater couch. I think it was a display model, so it was like super cheap. So yeah, and at the time I was living in a tiny little place that like didn't even have a bedroom door, right? It was like a loft kind of thing, although it was in a basement. But yeah, so I mean, I couldn't really have fit a whole living room set anyway, so it worked out. And then yeah, that ended up being our rec room couch. And yeah, like I said, that thing's over 20 years old and it's still nice. Yeah, the only problem is the cushions on the back, like it's really overstuffed and they don't come off. And we we didn't think about that when we bought it, but moving it in and out of houses is, yeah, a big pain because most doorways are not wide enough. And we had to one time, I think we like shrink wrapped it almost, right, to get it through the door. And oh yeah, my husband, he did up the rec room without thinking about how big that couch is, how overstuffed it is. And we almost couldn't get it in there. I was afraid we were gonna have to cut a hole in the wall or something. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And so yeah, we said that couch, it's never coming out of there. If we ever sell the house, they get to keep it. 'Cause, yeah. Oh. Yeah, the only way I think we'd be able to, oh, there's already one parked there, silly me. Here I'm grabbing another strand. Yeah, the only way we'd be able to get it out is like, you know, cut it in half or whatever, like Ross does on Friends. Oh. Yeah, it was funny because, well, my husband, he made our surround sound system because he's an engineer, right? Electronics engineer, so yeah, that's his thing. And so he built the pieces in the garage and then brought them in, and so we had a friend helping us bring them in, and I said I couldn't help myself as they went down the stairs. I yelled, "Pivot!" at them. Yeah, it's a really good sound. I said the only thing is that means if what you're watching, the sound wasn't done properly, you really notice. Yeah, like I was watching one and my husband said I think that they only had the rear channels and not the forward channels or something, and it sounded like they were inside a garbage can. It was so echoey and strange. Yeah. Or I said it's not so good when something gross happens on screen because they're like you're surrounded by the sound, and yeah, it could be ick. Yeah, and then we were having issues because we got our new TV boxes from our TV company because, well, the old ones, they couldn't do Disney Plus. They had a few things like pre-programmed in there, but you couldn't download any other apps onto them, only the new ones, and plus the fact that they said they're not going to support the old ones later this year, so I went and upgraded them. But yeah, we had an issue where it didn't want to talk to the surround sound system because one of them was like in 1080 and one of them was higher, and they kept trying to sync up and then it wouldn't, and the sound would keep dropping out, and yeah, I was driving my husband totally mad. Oh. And then it would eventually stop, and I think it was that like it would give up trying to like make the sound go to the higher rate or whatever. I don't know. I'm no technical person, so don't quote me on it, right? But yeah, because I thought maybe the machine has to warm up, but then it was like, well, no, because we have the second one on the other TV and it never drops out. That's because the other TV is also on 1080. It's not the high definition extra sound, so there's nothing to sync up. They automatically already do. So man, there's a few channels though that they've had it for years where somebody messed up, so if nobody's talking, the background noise gets really high. So like if it's, say, a scene where it's raining outside, the rain will be in the background, and as soon as people start talking, it comes up really loud and then drops back down again. And yeah, somebody doesn't know what they're doing to set it up. I don't know if W finally fixed theirs, but that was a problem for them. But Showcase, I find, has that issue often. Yeah, because the background and the dialogue are usually done on separate tracks. That way, if they dub it with a different language, the sound effects and ambience and stuff is still there, you know, like somebody closing the door or rain or, you know, that kind of stuff. Crackling fire is still there, and it just replaces the audio dialogue track. Yeah. Okay. Okay, there we go. Yeah, I remember when I was a teenager, I discovered MASH, and a lot of the earlier seasons were still in mono sound because it was made like, you know, from like 1980 something or 1970 something until like 1980 something. I can't remember exactly, but yeah, stereo wasn't standard yet. And so that meant, of course, that the show was way quieter than the ads, and I'd be watching it like late at night, so I'd be sitting there with like the remote in my hand, like to quickly hit the mute or something when the ads came on so it wouldn't blast and bother everyone else in the house. Yeah, I think it's all, they remastered it to stereo when they put it on DVD, which I have the whole series, because I think you have a choice. You can pick the original mono sound, or you can pick the stereo, which is, you know, what we're all used to now. Yeah, it's amazing to see how technology changes even in your own lifetime. Though the one that bugs me now is dialogue is harder and harder to hear. And I read an article saying that, yeah, it's not just you imagining it. Like, the thing is, because sound has gotten so much more complex, there's more sort of channels to mix, and it's a lot harder to do if the person who's mixing it doesn't really know what they're doing. Or they said a lot of times they don't, directors and stuff like on the set don't have as much respect for the sound. So like somebody will say, wait, can I get another take of that because the person was mumbling, and they'll just kind of like, oh, we'll just fix it in post-production. But a lot of times they don't really get a chance. Like actors don't want to come and redo their lines if it wasn't clear and stuff. So yeah, because yeah, like I said, I've had people say, well, maybe it's your hearing. I'm like, no, I noticed the difference between watching something like, say, Star Trek The Next Generation, you know, from the 80s versus something from today. And plus, yeah, I had my hearing tested this last summer after an ear infection, and they said that, yeah, I had above average hearing, which I already knew. Yeah, the audiologist was actually surprised at what I could hear. Although I have very slight loss in the ear that had the infection. Like, not enough that it really counts as hearing loss, but I can tell if I'm wearing earbuds that I can hear a slightly better in my right ear versus my left ear. And that may be permanent, unfortunately. Like, I can still hear everything, but yeah, it kind of sucks that it's a little uneven now. So, and the humming noise comes and goes, but it's mostly gone, so I'll take it. Yeah, I just said it was wild. Like, kids usually have, you know, people usually have ear infections when they're kids and they grow out of it because they said the shape of the tubes changes as you get older, and so kids are more prone to it. But I've had the opposite. I think I had like one my entire childhood, and as an adult, I've had like 4 of them. So, go figure. Oh man, so I finally found a way to get a good night's sleep. So I've been having trouble where I snore myself awake several times a night. Yeah, it was just awful. And like I tried doing a, you know, saline rinse before bed, not a neti pot, but the Navage machine, but same idea. And I was wearing the, you know, the Breathe Right nasal strips, but I found those would start coming off by the middle of the night, and they were actually giving me bruises across the bridge of my nose. I guess I have sensitive skin or whatever. I do bruise pretty easily, so. And yeah, and I was still snoring a bit too, so it was really frustrating because, you know, you don't snore and then you relax enough to fall asleep, snore, wake up, and this would happen multiple times a night. So anyway, I was desperate and I was thinking, okay, I don't really want to get a CPAP machine because those are cheap, you know, and in order to get insurance to pay for one, you got to go through a ton of testing and stuff. And ugh, what a hassle, right? I mean, I was at the point where I was going to, but then I was at the drugstore and I saw these little, they called the Max Air nasal dilators. And I thought, well, that'll be uncomfortable having something sticking in your nostrils, right? But I mean, I was getting desperate, you know, I was so tired. And so I thought, well, what the heck? It's $20. I'll give it a shot. So I tried them a couple nights ago. And yeah, after a couple of minutes, I couldn't feel them anymore. And they stayed securely the whole night. In fact, by the morning, I sort of woke up and it was like, is it still in there? Because I couldn't feel it. And I didn't snore once the entire night. I slept the whole night through. It was like, oh, I felt like a different person. So I'm like, okay, these things are my new best friend. So yeah, if you're having issues with snoring that isn't sleep apnea and isn't fixed by, say, like lying on your side or whatever, because I'm a side sleeper, so that wasn't it. Yeah, then I recommend giving that a try. Like I said, you know, each set of little silicone nose cones, they said, is 45 days, and they give 2 in a pack. So, right, for it's, yeah, $20 for 3 months supply. And oh, I wish I'd tried it sooner because it has been such a change. And man, yeah, when you get enough sleep, boy, does it make a difference. Oh. Because, yeah, I didn't change anything else about my sleep routine except for that. And, yeah. Because, yeah, I had, like, a few nights ago before I tried it, you know, it was the 3rd time I'd sort of snored myself awake. And my husband's like, oh, you know, can I help you to sleep? I'm like, well, I don't see how you're going to help with that unless you, like, pinch my nose close and force me to breathe through my mouth. Like, ugh. Which, you know, isn't great for your throat either. Yeah, you get dry mouth and all that, so... Yeah, I'm really glad because, yeah, and I wasn't too sure too with like saying the CPAP machine is not only they're expensive, but I'm not sure how well I would sleep with a mask over my face. Yeah. Yeah, my husband said when he was in the military, they actually had to train to sleep in a gas mask. And he says, yeah, it's a bit of a difference because your automatic reaction when you're half asleep is to try pull it off your face because it does feel like it's going to suffocate you, even though it's not. And so, yeah, they actually had to train to, in case that, you know, they ever ended up in a situation where they would need to sleep in one, yeah. Okay, So yeah, I'm just kind of working up to, pardon me, about here. I might work a little further because I can see how far out this goes further down. So again, kind of working more in sort of rows at this point. So I'll sort of decide as I go, as I usually do. Yeah, so I got the baby blanket completed and blocked and mailed off to the recipient who just turned 4 months old. So yeah, I double checked that they were at the same mailing address because I figured they weren't going to be moving with a newborn, but you never know, right? And I'd hate to ship it to someone else. Oh, and all that work be lost. Oh yeah, they were asking, you know, value of the package. I'm like, I don't know. It's like if I was gonna sell it, but so I gave them the value of the yarn, but it's a gift, so they won't have to pay import anyway. It's like, yeah, I guess, are they gonna count the work involved? Probably not. Yeah. Yeah, I had people tell me I should sell my knitting, but I said people aren't willing to pay you what the work is worth. Plus, I mean, I want to knit what I want to knit. Yeah. If I start knitting orders, I think it would probably kill my enjoyment in the craft, and I would hate for that to happen. So no, I don't think everything has to be monetized. I think it's good to have hobbies that are just because you enjoy doing them. Of course, I recognize that a lot of people just don't have that luxury. A lot of people have to monetize everything because it is expensive to live. Yeah, it's wild the other day going grocery shopping, and I was like, I kind of want some cake. And I look, and it's just a regular, you know, like 8-inch, you know, cake. At $25. I'm like, yeah, never mind. I don't want cake that bad. It looked good, but no. And then silly me, I bought a smaller one that was only $8. But silly me, I completely had forgotten that I'd made a berry crumble as well. So now we have tons of desserts. Oh, and my husband went out of town, right? Oh dear. Yeah, my son doesn't mind, of course. Oh, it's out of sight, out of mind. That was one time I cooked dinner, and I cooked enough so we'd have leftovers the next day. Well, I completely forgot there were leftovers the next day, so I cooked another dinner, and then I opened the fridge to get something, and it's like, oh, there's dinner right there. I'm like, so should we make like hobbits and eat them both? Oh, like, well, I guess that means I don't have to cook tomorrow. That is, if I can remember that there's leftovers. Oh dear. Well, I did replace my what you might call it, my fridge's vegetable drawers with clear ones, and that certainly has helped. If I can see the food in there, I'm more likely to remember that it needs to be used before it's, yeah, before it's gone rotten. Oh, oh dear. Okay, so I think I may work up to about here. Yeah, I gotta cut it off somewhere, and that's where I think I will do that. Might end up with some kind of different shapes because of the way the feathers are shaped. Like I say, they kind of make almost like scales, right? So, yeah. Well, I think I actually can. This piece is a little longer than I thought, so I tacked it down with a pin stitch. Then I will just park it down there. Oh yeah, I unthreaded it. Well, it's a short piece, so that tends to happen. Okay. Yeah, saying we did get 6 inches of snow made for that soft packed snow that is a big pain to drive through. I almost find it harder than driving on the sheer ice. Yeah. It's like you're wading through it. The tires want to follow ruts that maybe you don't want it to go in that direction, and oh yeah. Pulling out of the driveway, sometimes you end up almost spinning around because it kind of pivots on the one point, and yeah, it's I find, yeah, getting in and out of the driveway can sometimes be the hardest part of the whole drive. Oh well, every day is one day closer to spring, right? Yeah, my winter blues have not been as bad this year. Fingers crossed. Usually it hits me right when we have time change. Yeah. Because it being really dark so early. Yeah. So I kind of had a dip then, but it's been not as bad since. So. Okay, yeah, so I think I will go up to here. I don't feel like adding more to that bit there. I'll get to it later. So I'll unthread these as I park them. Yeah, so even on these feathers, I find there is some bigger blocks of colors, so they go quicker than you might think. Unlike the flowers that were on the far right on the vines, yeah, those were definitely pretty confetti heavy. So. See if that piece of thread is long enough. Probably not. It's going to be pretty close. Oh, maybe. Sweet. Yeah, I don't think I could have got one more stitch out of that. Just enough to be able to finish it. Excellent. Let's see, there's not much to this one, yeah. So there's a bit. Okay, fine. Okay, so that one. I think I might actually be able to do this. Yeah. Hug this corner here. Oh, don't you go tying knots, please. 100. Oops. Got my needle caught in my sweater there. That could have been unpleasant. Okay. Back over to the left again. think I'll do my trick here, stitching in 2 directions, so that way I don't have to add more than 1 thread, at least not at the moment. Just making sure there wasn't a knot there. It was just the pin stitch ends I was feeling. So I don't normally cross as I go, but I want my thread to end up on the other end of this row of stitches here, so I will this time. Okay. suppose I could go out of order and do this other stitch that's past it, but there's also another one over there, so I'll probably just use a small leftover piece to get those 2 stitches in this way. I won't do it out of order. Sometimes I do, but I try not to when I can. Now, if I didn't have another sort of lone stitch by itself here, then I would probably do this whole row, including the one that goes past this stopping point. Okay, so now that we did that ocean, I think we could finally get into the tail feather colors again. Woohoo! I wonder if I have much of this color. Not as much anymore. Yeah, that was more for the peacock's chest and neck. There's tons of this color. We stitch to 200 stitches. Why not? A lot more working across than working downwards today. Well, I find when the color's this shape, working more horizontally across means I don't have as many live needles, which helps keep me from getting tangles. think this should take me over the 200 stitch mark. See, I pierced the fabric in the wrong spot. That's why that leg looked a little funny. Try that again. Almost did it again, my gosh. There. Don't know why the needle sort of wanted to go beside the spot rather than in the correct place. That's different. Yeah, we're over 200 now. So yeah, I think that's a good stopping point. And thank you so much for joining me today, and hope to see you here next time. All right, thanks everyone.